Hey everyone, it's Nicholas Wilton at Art to Life, and I wanted today to talk about how the input can dramatically improve and affect the output. And what I'm talking about is what you take in and your filtration of that. And if you're interested in making your art amazing, you need to pay attention to that. So I think a lot about when I'm driving and why it's so irritating when you have someone backseat driving you. They're sitting in the back seat, and and it's amazing because you drive around in your life and you rarely hit anything, but suddenly when someone gets in your car, they feel inclined that they need to like show you and point out what you need to do to help you drive. And it can be helpful, especially if you're going to hit someone or but often it's so irritating because someone's giving you feedback and you're trying to assimilate that feedback as well as drive yourself, which you can do on your own perfectly fine because you've been doing it forever. And that's why backseat driving is so frustrating. And it relates a little to art making because really you just want to drive your car yourself. But if you've got influence and you've got voices in your head that are overriding what you would normally do, then that makes the work feel stiff and not like it feels uncomfortable and not quite right. And it blocks you actually from making really powerful work as well as being really free when you do it. So what I like to think about is if you have, if this is you and this is the artist and you have a really big hat on, but I'm going to draw this upside down. And there's all this stuff in the world. There's all this amazing things out here. There's incredible art that people are making. There's amazing things to look at, books to read, and all kinds of stuff, tons of stuff in the world that you get distracted by and that interests you and some doesn't. There's just a ton of stuff. Millions of backseat drivers out here, all kinds of things. You read things, people tell you what you can do and you can't do. But what's important to remember is that in order for you to make something from all of this, what's really, really critical is that all of these things that you identify, let's say this is something you really want, you have to bring it in through this filter, through this hat. All these things, the things that you want, you can't just grab them and then use them over here. If this is your art, if you're going to make something, you're going to make something over here. You can't just you can't just take it in the world. You can't just take this stuff that's out here and put it in there because it needs to go through first. It needs to go through this filtration. This filter is really, really important to develop. This is your discernment. This is the things that, I get this question a lot. And this is one of the, points here is that, well, I love people's work and I look at, Diebenkorn or whoever. What are you saying? Not look at that? And it's like, no, look at the work, but identify what you love about it and then take that piece, but discern what it is you love about it. In other words, bring it in through this filtration. So when you bring something out, when you create something over here, when it comes out here, this is going to be like this stuff, but it will have the influence of you on it. And then this thing will become more unique. So it's really, really important to remember this filtration system like that. That's so, so critical to have that, to always bring it through that system. The input, what you bring in, totally affects the output. And that's really, really important to kind of remember. So the other point that I have here is that I want to stress is that this filtration thing, it's not just when you're making art, it's always on. Like, it's okay to have it always on. You develop this over time by having an awareness of what you're choosing and why you're liking it. If you see something that moves you, ask yourself, what about that? Make a note of it. Put it in your sketchbook. A sketchbook's a great filtration because you have to select, bring it in, and store it. You've done that loop. You've brought that in. So it's always on, and that's a good thing. That's a great thing. Much of your improvement will happen not when you're making your art. It just happens while you're walking around the planet, experiencing things and looking at things. The third point here is that a way to kind of not copy and not just take without discernment is to ask yourself, what does it feel like? That's a great question because it forces the loop back to yourself, and it asks you your interpretation of what you're looking at. So just by asking that question, when I look at, John Singer Sargent, or I look at any, what does it feel like to me? Because what it feels like, there's no wrong answer, but it's definitely personal. And start making your work around that feeling. How do I get that same feeling in this output that I'm creating? So anyway, those are a few little hacks in order to get this filtration really strong. The better and stronger this becomes, the more powerful and effective and unique and authentic and saleable and everything else this becomes, because it becomes a new, unique thing out in the world of all this stuff. Anyway, hope you have an awesome Sunday. If you're new here, I've got this free color PDF, color tips. Go ahead and download that. And every Sunday, we're always talking about art. And please leave your comments below, and we'll dive into that. Okay, thanks a lot. Let me know if this relates and how you think about it. I'd love to get your feedback. Okay, thanks.